Hello, can you see me? Oh, yeah, I think your microphone might be muted. Your microphone? Uh, your microphone might be muted. Um, Hello?
Yeah, I'm here. You can hear me?
Let's see.
Is that
Oh,
Alan there?
Alan, I think his microphone's not working.
Oh no. Well, if he does open air, is it open air or does he have a headset or something?
Um, I don't know. Okay, he's trying right now on his microphone.
Okay.
Anyway, we're broadcasting now.
Oh, hi everyone. Is there one person?
Yeah,
It's all good.
I'm just asking if his microphone is muted.
Yeah, Patricia can't come on, so
No, she's way too busy. In fact,
I
she's
know.
doing the Hangouts might interfere with our. Okay, I can see Alan, but I can't hear him.
What if he just uses his computer, just instead of using a headset, just trying just his computer?
Uh, Speaking of headsets, I should probably put. I think mine will be okay without this. I think it'll be okay. You might hear a little bit of a echo
Hmm.
initially,
A
but
little
you
echoes.
don't really need a head. Yeah, but you don't really need a headset to prevent the echo if you just let the signal stabilize.
Uh,
Are you able to hear me now?
I hear you, Foxtrot.
Yeah.
Okay, good. I'm sorry about that. That was terrible.
It's all
What
good.
happened?
I don't know. The mic seemed to have been working when I was testing it before our call, but
Yeah.
there's some problem. But anyway, hello. Thanks for
I
having
don't.
me.
Yeah, I
Hello.
don't see you. Do you see him, Robin?
Yeah, I see him.
Okay, as long as you see him. I don't see him.
I don't think it. Yeah, he's not hidden. He's not muted, so I wonder why you don't see
Okay.
him.
No, I hear him. I just don't see him. So that's okay. That's okay. Sometimes it happens.
Do you see an icon instead?
Yeah, it just says Foxtrot and like a sky or something.
Okay.
Cool. And they're starting the sunrise stuff soon, aren't they?
Yeah, yeah. The
Where are they?
sun tracking just started.
Yeah, I got the link
Nathan's
emailed to
running
me.
it right now,
hmm
Cool, right on.
and Patricia will be running it soon.
Hmm.
And the next, she's got the next shift, and then I'm going to start this evening. So we're
Great.
all manning the tracking of it.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's cool. I might actually go down to where the
Is it?
river is because it comes up better the sunrise in the morning for me.
Yeah, it's interesting. Some of the things we're finding. It may be that we will be able to adjust the Gleason's map quite a bit. For one thing, I think the United States might be tilted to the southwest.
Hmm.
There's I think there's all kinds of things in, that the powers that be, the Freemasons that kind of run everything. It's like they're kind of shining a sun about the very world we live in more ways than just the fact that it's flat. There may be other issues too.
Absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah.
I heard. I listened to some discussion where a gentleman said that he thinks that there might be like land that they're hiding between the Americas and Asia because there's such a large gap.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Who really knows?
It's possible for sure.
Old Chinese. There's an old Chinese legend that talks about some land in the Western Pacific that was like some secret land. That
Like Shangri-La?
and there was no, not Shangri-La, but I can't remember the name of it. It was, I want to say Qingchao was something or other. I didn't remember. Something like that.
Interesting. Oh,
That and that the emperor, one of the emperors, knew about this secret land, and it was like a sort of a resort area for the upper crust of China to go to this secret land in the western part of the Pacific. But this apparently was a very nice land.
Wow. I wouldn't doubt it. I really don't.
yeah. Probably a lot of people chilling there right now. We just.
Yeah. I don't know.
Well, that's one of the reasons we're not asking people to give us their latitude and longitude, is because it may be that latitude and longitude is not right. But if they give their location, we'll be able to get some information from that, you know. But it's just it's like there's so many deceivers in the elites, you know. It's like they just, I don't even know if they do it for any specific purpose. They may just do it just because they can. You know, some people do. They just lie because they can.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I have a pretty interesting perspective on that whole thing, where, like, you know, the elite are the elite, and they have their jobs. They're positioned to do whatever they're supposed to do. But us as Bible believers, I mean, we have to be open to the fact that it's greater than that. Like, it could boil down to just the greed that is within us, and the power that they were given at birth or whatever, born into a rich family or whatever. It's just, if you're the richest guy in the world, you don't care about money. You just want more power or more control over something, because money is not an object to you at that point. So I think it's like, it's deeper than it's probably just the sin that's in the world, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and they're being controlled.
Well, I think actually it's more. I think it's more that because they get everything, because they have everything they need, they get everything they want.
Mm-hmm.
They don't. They feel like they don't need God, you know, because they are their own God.
Yes.
And that's part of the reason that's why Jesus, I think, said that it's very hard for a rich man to enter the kingdom of heaven.
Yeah.
You know, it was easier for the camel to pass through the eye of a needle. Oh, by the way, that camel was actually a type of rope. It's like a big fat rope they used to. It wasn't like the animal camel. It was like a big fat rope they used to tie ships at the harbor. You know.
That's interesting.
So,
is that definition by like the Hebrew definition, or how did that come about? Because I know that other translations literally translate it to the animal, but
I heard somewhere that there, if you look at the actual, it wasn't in Hebrew, it was actually in Greek, because it was the New Testament.
Right.
I'm trying to think of the actual. I do have a Greek New Testament here. I just don't have it right here with me. But be that as it may, it's not like a rich man can't, because he says after that, they say, well, who can get in? You know, then a person with possessions. And he said, well, with God, all things are possible, right?
Right.
Doesn't mean that a rich man isn't going to get to heaven. What it means is if that rich man puts all his trust in his riches and his power, his own personal power, and does not put his trust in God where it belongs, then yeah, he's not going to get to heaven.
Not going to. Yeah,
but
exactly.
it is. Yeah, but the thing is it's easy for a person of wealth and power to not trust God, and so they have to keep their focus on God. I mean, there's been stories of very righteous people who are very wealthy, like King Louis X of England or France. He was an incredibly virtuous man, but and very trusting in God, but he was very rich and powerful too. But he knew, because they were talking about when he was going to be crowned king of France, and he said, this is at the time when people were converting to Christianity in France. It was called Gaul at that time. And he said when they were he was preparing for his coronation as King of France, and his courtiers, he said to his courtiers, "This is the second most important day of my life," and so the courtiers were very surprised. They said, "Well, what was the first most important day of your life?" And he says, "Ah, the day of my baptism." So when he became a Christian, that was, the first most important day of his life. But he was
Cool.
a very, very holy man. Very holy man, but very rich, very powerful. So the thing is, when he says, with God all things are impossible, well, God gave him the grace by virtue of his baptism to be virtuous and to know that God really is more powerful than him, and that all of this stuff on the earth is just, this wealth and power is just vanity,
Yeah.
and he learned that. And so,
Right. Yeah.
anyway, I always thought that was an interesting story, the story of King Louis X of France.
Yeah. I'm learning that whatever faith I do have is not my own. Like, that's kind of what I'm learning.
That's right. Faith is a gift of God. It's a grace,
It's nothing I've done. 'Cause, that's what I'm learning. Because when you start thinking that you deserve it, or maybe
We
that's
can't
even the
even
wrong word. It's like
we
you
can't
get kind
even
of
be good
prideful,
without.
right?
Yeah,
Right.
well,
So
we can't
whatever
even
faith.
be good without God.
Right. Yeah, you're right. It's true. Or it's just a show. Just that's all it is.
Yeah. I can definitely relate to what you just said, Robin, because I've seen money corrupt people. Sure, like I've even seen it corrupt myself, and it's a very powerful thing in this world. And that's not to say that there's people that I know that are pretty wealthy that are, very devout Christians who, do a lot of good with their wealth. So, um, yeah, in that sense, I could definitely, relate to the thing that you just said.
Yeah, but it is easy when you have great power within the world. It's easy to stop trusting in God and just putting trust in yourself alone. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Till it all
Or
falls apart.
or your network, like your close, rich network friends or the close elitists. They're only.
I mean, I've always wondered about that. Like, we say the elite, we say the people in control. I mean, some people think it's the government, some people think it's all the secret societies and stuff. The truth is, no one really knows who they are. But
It,
we can be.
Alan, I'm not one of them. That's what I know.
I trust you. Right? I trust you. But
Oh,
we know that they exist.
well, yeah. What did when Jesus was tempted in the wilderness, right? And Satan took him up on the very high mountain, which proves it's flat Earth, because he showed him all the kingdoms of the world, and if it was around Earth, he could only show him half the kingdoms of the world.
Right.
So it had to be flat to take him on a high mountain and show him all the kingdoms of the world. What did he say to him? All power and wealth in the world has been given to me, Satan said to him, and so I will give it all to you if you bow down and serve me. I mean, it's one of the ultimate temptations, it's like, and of course, he said, thou shalt worship the Lord our God alone, and only him shall we serve. But it's because, when you think about all this power and these elites and how the power tends to corrupt, because the source of worldly power and worldly wealth, if you get back down to it, is controlled by Satan.
It is.
I mean, he says it right in the Bible. So that's why it's the thing is, if you're dealing with wealth or power, the strings are already there. So you have to be very close to God and pray constantly if you're a person of wealth and power to save yourself. And like I say, that's why he says it's hard for a rich man to enter the kingdom of God. Doesn't mean they don't do it, because he says all things are possible with God. But it's easy when to get tempted by the things of the world, you know.
Right.
Yeah. Well, I'm not even rich, and temptation sometimes can get all of us, right? So I couldn't imagine having all that
Oh
power as
yeah.
well. Like, I'd fall really fast. Like, I have to admit it. Maybe it's good I'm not.
I think a lot of us,
That's right. Well, look at
but I think it's sorry.
yeah. Well, look at King Solomon. Go ahead, you first.
Yeah, I'm just saying that all of us covet it at one time or another to be successful and wealthy. But I sometimes catch myself thinking like, dang, if I was that rich, would I be this close with God? And usually I end up saying, yeah, it would be pretty tough. So that's all. Go ahead,
To
Ron.
be a simple person, you know, simple, common person, you have a better shot at it sometimes. But, you know, look at King Solomon. He was one of the wealthiest, most powerful kings on the earth at that time. I mean, people, and he was, but the thing is what happened in scriptures when, I mean, I could look it up, but I don't have my Bible right in front of me right now, but what is, you know, God said to him, he says, I will give you wealth and power, or I will give you wisdom. Which do you want? I want wisdom. And because of that wisdom, he was able to become wealthy and powerful. So,
Yeah. So he already
and
had some wisdom a little bit to understand that. Yeah.
yeah, so he asked for wisdom. And, you know, if you read Ecclesiastes, you know, which was written by Solomon, you know, what does he say? Everything is vanity under the world. All of it is vanity, you know. And because he did not have that attachment, huh?
Which verse was that?
Ecclesiastes. Oh, it's all through Ecclesiastes. It's a common theme through Ecclesiastes. It's if you read Ecclesiastes, it's like it starts like he says all of these things that are just foolishness, you know, all the wealth and power that everybody sees. I mean, you just open it anywhere.
I know that there's a verse that says the wisdom of the world is foolishness to God.
It's a proverb as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, this is, let's see, where is it? It starts vanity, vanity, all is vanity, and he's the one that says there's nothing new under the sun. All these people that think they have these great ideas, it's nothing new under the sun.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it's all through Ecclesiastes. I can't think of a specific verse, but I mean, if you, you know, I mean, when you see what he says, I mean, here's the richest, most powerful person in much about wealth. He says a good name, like chapter 8, verse 1, a good name is better than precious ointment, and the day of death is than the day of birth. Why? Because when you die, you'll know you've been saved. But when you're born, you don't know if you're going to become a good Christian and be saved by the Lord. Sorrow is better than laughter, for by the sadness of countenance the heart is made better. You know, I mean, you just go through it. It's like, you know, all of it. It's all about the different, you know, the whole book of Ecclesiastes is all about how he looked at all these things of the world. I mean, he starts out where he says, you know, the words of the preacher, the son of David, king of Jerusalem. So the son of David is Solomon. But in a way, it's also Jesus speaking to us because he's also the son of David, right?
Right.
You know, because in Matthew they always refer to him, Jesus, son of David.
Mm-hmm.
You know. But let's see. So, and then it continues in chapter 2. He's going out and, you know, partying it up and looking for happiness in the, and at the end he goes, there is no happy with the things that are not truly happy.
Mm-hmm.
You can only be happy with wisdom and knowledge of God.
Yeah.
So, you know, I mean, like I say,
The joy of knowing
Ecclesiastes
him. Yeah.
is a great book.
I think
Yeah,
that's the greatest
and
reward. The
the
greatest
thing is,
reward is knowing.
Ecclesiastes. Yeah. But Ecclesiastes is, not very many people read Ecclesiastes because on face value it sounds a little bit pessimistic. But if you look at it from a spiritual point of view, it's an amazing book. I like it.
I see.
That's got the one in there about to everything there is a season and a time for every purpose under heaven, and it goes through all the different time to do this, time to do that. That's in there.
Yeah,
But
sing that
it's
song.
a
How
book
does
of
that
great
song?
wisdom, but it's a deeper wisdom. Oh, everything there is a purpose. Yeah, I don't remember. It's some cheesy '70s song, but
Yeah, I'm joking. I wanted to hear you sing. That's all.
no. I don't sing very well.
Well, yeah, I mean, I haven't checked out Ecclesiastes. I haven't studied it too much. So, yeah, I'm definitely going to check it out now. But I wanted to ask you guys, what are some of what are some of the verses in the Bible that sort of are confirmed with this whole flat Earth thing? That's something that I always wanted to ask fellow Christians and believers of God.
Oh, yeah. Oh, what is it? Isaiah? I have a bunch of them, but I didn't write them down anywhere, I don't think. I might have. Let me see.
Yeah.
Let's see. No,
Right
don't
back.
have
In
anything
1
written
second.
down there.
Listed it upon the circle of the earth.
I can't think of exactly where they are. There was one where that's the one that everybody uses. I mean, other than if you go to Genesis, obviously there's some there, but there was one that.
As far as I'm concerned, the whole book of Genesis describes a not a ball Earth.
Yeah.
I think
yeah, it's
Isaiah 40.
in King James. Yeah, Isaiah 20:44 is a common one that people bring out. And there's actually a lot in Isaiah 40:22, and actually even before that, let me see. Isaiah. There's some interesting things in Isaiah chapter 40. See, a lot of people will yank a verse out and just quote that verse, but the thing is, you get so much more out of it if you sort of read around that verse and look at all the aspects of it. Because there's like, let's see, Jeremiah. I'm in the 1611 version of the King James. Adam knows that's my favorite, or I like it because it's the original 1611. It's the original version of the King James at the time of King James.
Was it changed since then?
There was one in the 1700s.
Yeah, 1757.
Mm-hmm.
They did change some things and they took some books out, which I didn't approve of, because if they were in there in the first place, they didn't need to be taking them out. They took quite a few books out and several verses of Daniel.
Yeah, I definitely think the Isaiah 40:22 is a pretty strong verse as far as that goes. But there's some verses that I really like Romans 3:4, let God be true and every man a liar. Or even Romans 1:25, who changed the truth of God into a lie and worship and serve the creature more than the Creator, who is blessed forever. And these verses speak to me on not the physical side of flat Earth, but more of the when you're trying to share it with people and just recognizing the realm that we live in and how people are affected with the whole corruption of it.
Yeah, well, and that's part of the reason, like I was mentioning before about liars, I mean, it's like these people just enjoy lying,
Yeah.
It's like they can't stop lying. You know.
Yeah.
Let's see. There were some. Let's see. I think. I did a couple of videos on this. One of them was called "Mapping the Heavens," and I did mention some verses in there.
Mm-hmm.
There's like, let me see. I got some notes here. One of the things that's interesting is there was two words in the initial part of Genesis used for heaven. Okay, if you go into in the English, there's only one verse that's heaven. Let's see. I kind of went into this in great deal on my video on mapping the heavens. I think you've seen that, Adam.
Yeah, I have. Yeah.
Yeah.
I saw that one twice, actually.
You watched it twice.
Do you like that?
I watched both of the videos you shared with me twice. The one with Santa Tomas Aquinas and the one about the firmament. And I also checked out the ISS one, which I really liked. I really enjoyed the ISS one. And I have a lot of questions about that one and a lot of thoughts on it. We can talk about that in a bit.
But anyway, so in Genesis 1:1, it says, "In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth," right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, this heaven was the heaven. It's like when he created the heaven and the earth is where he was going to put man, but the heaven was like sort of the house he built for himself, right? In the beginning. And that word for heaven is Hashamayim in chapter 1, right? Or
That's
in verse 1. Yeah, Hashamayim. And that's the word for the heaven where God dwells, okay? Because there's other words for heaven. In English, they just say heaven, right? So it doesn't really... That's why I went through of mapping the earth. So on the second day, remember when he divided the waters from the waters? Says, let's see, here we go. First he created light, and then he says, okay, so on the second day, God said, let there be a firmament in the midst of the waters, and let it divide the waters from the waters. And then God made a firmament and divided the waters which were under the firmament from the waters which were above the firmament. So there's two sets of water. There's water that's in the firmament, and then there's water that's above the firmament. And this water above the firmament, and then it says, and God called the firmament heaven. In other words, so the waters above the firmament. So Shamayim, Hashamayim means the heaven, right? And like the heaven of where God lives, right? And Shammai, in this case, the word that they use in verse 8, when God says, and God called the firmament heaven, he does not use Ha-Shamayim. Ha-Shamayim is like the best, the highest, right?
Mm-hmm. The highest heaven.
This is Shamayim. Yeah, this is Shamayim, which is heaven. Just like it's like a heaven.
But in Hebrew, it's a different word.
Yeah, it's a different word.
Huh.
That's
weird because
word.
in English you either get heaven or heavens.
Actually, in the NIV, I actually read King James, but I do have an NIV here. It calls it in verse 8 sky instead of heaven.
Yeah.
So I mean.
No, that's different. That's different.
Okay.
Yeah, the sky is where the birds live.
Okay.
Right.
But so this is what they also refer to as the in old times. In medieval times, they called it the crystalline heaven. And if you remember, in Revelations 4:6 and Revelations 15:2, they talk about a sea of glass at the floor of the throne of God. So
I heard you talk about
glass,
that. Yes.
Yeah.
Covered that in your.
So that's the. Yeah.
we
so
watch all your stuff, Robin.
Oh, okay. Well, anyway, and the firmament is rakio, so that means it's fixed. It's like a hard fixed thing. It's not like
Right.
space.
Like the
know.
dome or
So
something.
that
Yeah.
yeah
A physical.
yeah, and I think it's made of sapphire.
I saw your video on that too, Robin.
Yeah. Nathan Oakley started that because he made a video on why do you think the sky is blue? Because the way people describe the reason for it being blue is doesn't really work very well. And so I thought about it and I said, well, maybe it's made of sapphire.
It could be.
And they do
It
call
makes
it, and
sense.
the ancients call well the ancients call the sapphire the stone of heaven, right?
Robin, wait a second. Are you telling me it's not a glass sphere?
Well, sapphire is a lot more better structure. It's the second hardest stone on Mohs scale of hardness.
I know, it was a bad joke. It was a bad joke.
I think it would be a little more structured. I know, you're kidding me. But I always like to talk about technical things. And then there was another one, Isaiah 40, I think. Isaiah 40. You get me in the Bible, I'm just never going to come out of it. I'm sorry, guys. You started this.
So good. Okay, where are you going? Isaiah where? I got some to add later, but I just want to hear what you have to say. So Isaiah. I'm going to my tablet because I'm lazy.
Isaiah 40:22. But that's the
22.
one. Yeah. See, I look it up in an actual book any longer. You know.
I know, but then I just start doing
this. I
this.
just like to look it up in the real book.
Yeah.
I have a book too.
Yeah,
I have a book here, and I have this, and I don't know.
Oh, do you ever go off and actually use it?
How about I do this? I'll pretend like I'm turning the pages.
Okay,
No. I'll pretend like I'm turning the pages, but really I'm just reading my tablet. Okay.
Pretty good.
So, Isaiah 40:22. That's the one.
That's right.
I
Yeah,
like
that's
to
famous
talk
one,
a little bit. Yeah, this is what I like to go a little bit before because. Okay, so here it goes. We'll start in 20:21 where it says, "Have ye not known? Have ye not heard? Hath it not been told you from the beginning? Have ye not understood from the foundations of the earth? It is he that sitteth upon the circle of the earth, and the inhabitants thereof are as grasshoppers, that stretcheth out the heavens as a curtain, and spreadeth them out a tent to dwell therein." Right? Now there's a lot in there. It talks about how this was told to us from the beginning. In other words, the way the earth is.
Mm-hmm.
So, don't be surprised. Why are you guys trying to figure out a different way of describing the earth, Have you not been told from the beginnings? Have you not understood from the foundations of the earth,
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like God's going, hello, hey, wake up in there. And then it is he who sits upon the circle of the earth. And that word is a circle. It's not a sphere. And even though I really like the Doughty readings, they do mistranslate them into sphere. And I think it's because at that time, it was in the 1500s or 1600s in France, and France was starting to be infected by that Masonic globe kind of.
When it was starting, yeah.
The baller philosophy.
Heliocentric
Yeah, there were the heliocentric. So they were starting to be more infected with that philosophy than the English, and so they translated it directly to circle. Mm-hmm. And now, if you go to which is it, Psalm 19?
Oh, that was my favorite. I was going to throw that in there. That's my favorite one right there.
Psalm 19. Yeah, that's Psalm. You can read it if you got it there already.
Well, I'm clicking in my tablet. Okay.
Yeah, you see, I haven't used the book, so it takes me long to get there. So.
Yeah, I love this one because it talks about the sun and running a race that's moving and the ends of the earth. It's just great. says,
Yeah, so
the
go.
heavens. You want me to read it? I think there's a little bit delay when I talk for some reason, so if I'm cutting you off, I don't mean it.
No, 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 I understand. I'm terrible at that too.
Okay. And Google Hangouts is a little different than Skype. Skype is so much easier to talk on, but
Oh
okay, here we
yeah.
go. The heavens declare the glory of God, and the firmament showeth his handiwork. Day unto day uttereth speech, and night unto night showeth knowledge. There is no speech nor language where their voice is not heard. Their line is gone out through all the earth, and their words to the end of the world. In them hath he set a tabernacle for the sun, which is as a bridegroom coming out of his chamber, and rejoiceth as a strong man to run a race. His going forth is from the end of the heaven, and his circuit unto the ends of it, and there is nothing hid from the heat thereof. The law of the Lord is perfect, converting the soul. The testimony of the Lord is sure, making wise the simple. The statutes of the Lord are right, rejoicing the heart. The commandment of the Lord is pure, enlightening the eyes. The fear of the Lord is clean, enduring forever. The judgments of the Lord are true and righteous altogether. It goes on and on. But that's even like that's my favorite thing
Yeah,
about flat Earth. I said is like make wise the simple. Like it just sums everything up. I think it's just a
yeah.
beautiful song. It really is.
I and the thing is like people talk about like that living glass, right? That they say, oh, those are pieces of the firmament falling down. Have you ever seen Libyan glass? Or
No,
have
but
you
Not
heard of
no, I
it?
haven't, but I heard of it.
Anyway,
Yeah, I've heard of it.
I remember you talking.
yeah. Well, it's this glass. Yeah, and Libyan glass actually. People say it's pieces of the firmament, but I disagree because Libyan glass is found specifically in the areas along the desert areas, like in the Sahara and places where the sun's track is very powerful. It's not just found in the Sahara or in the Libya. It's actually some people have actually found this in southern Utah and Arizona as well. So these pieces of this yellow glass that come off, I don't believe those are pieces of the firmament. I believe because of the great intense heat of the sun that sometimes it causes these pieces of the pavilion of the sun, the pavilion that sits around the sun. It's sort of like if you have like a bare light bulb, right? And it's it's shining in a room. It can be kind of glary and it doesn't spread the light out properly. But if you put a light globe around a shade of some kind, it will, like one of those glass globes that they put around the light bulb, then it diffuses the light into an even pattern. And I think that's what the
Hmm.
tabernacle of the sun is actually a kind of enclosure to focus or to spread the light out in an appropriate pattern.
So
And
it can
not
either spread it
like
out
so it
or
wouldn't
focus it.
Interesting.
yeah, so like if the sun was directly overhead, so that way when the sun is directly overhead of you, it wouldn't just torch whatever is directly below it. It would
Gee,
spread it
yeah,
out and
yeah.
stuff. Yeah,
Hmm.
because I mean, if it's what we think it is, it's it could um, cause a lot of havoc
Oh yeah.
if it wasn't tempered properly. So,
Hmm. It's
and
weird
then
because that.
I was thinking,
Sorry, go on.
oh, go ahead.
Yeah, there's a bit of delay, so I'm not normally this rude, just a little bit rude. But yeah, like that long before I even considered flat Earth in that dream that I had, like where I saw the Earth and it was laid out flat, and I did look over, I saw the sun. It like I know like you have to test dreams and everything like that, but it's just interesting like seeing scripture or even hearing what you're saying because as I looked over this way and I saw the sun, it was weird because it was able to, it looked almost like it could spread the light out, but also focus it because the way that the rays were coming down, and it was so close. It was amazing me. So everything that people are saying that I'm hearing, especially from you, it just brings that back to my mind again. Like I want to see that one day again, which is just interesting. Anyway, go on.
That was just one thing I wanted to bring up, and also, you know, I'm trying to think of other verses where, yeah, in what is it? It's in Revelations.
Revelation.
Where is it? Revelations. Yeah, I don't know which, Alan, I don't normally use, but both me and Adam use the King James almost exclusively.
Pretty much, yeah. I wish I knew like other languages, but I don't. Sorry. You know Korean. Do you read it in Korean?
I do sometimes when I have to. Since I
Okay.
go to a Korean congregation on Sunday, oftentimes I have to read in front of the congregation a verse, a psalm, or a proverb. And
Okay.
then I do, but I prefer not to because it's not my first language.
Oh, okay. Okay.
My wife reads the Bible in Korean.
Nice.
Hold on. I'll be right back. I'm going to get my Bible.
All right. Gee. I wonder in like Korean and other languages where they're getting it from, because English they get it from different sources, and then I'm just curious to see where they get it from.
Yeah, you know, they actually based it on
Well, I know.
the King James or the NIV. They just directly translate it that way, I believe.
Well, the NIV and the King James are from two separate things, but I don't know. I'm just wondering. It's interesting. I don't really have that much to say
Yeah.
because I don't know the other language.
Yeah.
But from my understanding, it's something like that. Like whatever versions we have, they make new versions based on them. So.
Okay. I just stick to the King James. I don't really trust a lot of these new ones at all. Like I'm just staying away from them.
I'm with you, Adam. I'm totally
Yeah.
with you.
I'm not like coming against hard on people saying that you're not a Christian because you're reading that and everything, but
Yeah.
but for me, that's what I'm sticking to. If I knew Greek or Hebrew, or that it would be a little different. Even then, like some of the where they're getting that from, like just because it's written in Hebrew doesn't mean it's right either. But
Right.
I don't know. I just feel convicted to stick with this, so that's what I'm doing.
Yeah, it's just the most trustworthy in my opinion because it's not been changed and verses haven't been taken out. I don't know if you guys know about that, but tons of verses that support his Jesus's deity have been taken out, and that just doesn't resonate with me. I don't like that at all. You know what I mean? So I would rather just have it.
Yeah, the one that bothers me is the 1 John chapter 5 verse 7. Got taken out of the NIV.
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's like a major reference to it was like, oh my gosh, that's just wrong.
It is wrong. This whole really like alienated me from like some fellow believers. Is like, oh my gosh. I think it's an important issue. In my opinion, Yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying to find. There's one where it says that the sun will become sackcloth and the moon will become blood. Oh, I just talked about that in Matthew 24. Why didn't I think of that? I'm looking for it, and I'm going, duh, I just talked about it. It was a reference to the flat Earth, and let me see. Let me go to Matthew 24. If you look at my last Bible study, you'll see it there too. We'll promote my little Bible study videos.
Why not? Sounds good.
That's Matthew 24 is so controversial because it's the one where he talks about the end of the world,
Yeah,
Well, and actually Luke does. Luke talks
Yeah.
about it in Luke 17, and I like to compare the two because sometimes if you just look at Matthew alone, you can get kind of confused, whereas Luke clarifies some things. Let's see here. It says, shall be afflicted, blah, blah, blah. It's abomination of desolation.
29. Immediately after the tribulation of those days shall the sun be darkened and the moon shall not give her light.
Immediately after the tribulation of those days shall the sun be darkened and the moon shall not give her light, and the stars shall fall from the heaven, and the powers of heaven shall be shaken. Okay, so if the stars are, millions of hundreds of light years away, the sun is 93 million miles away, and all that, then how could the stars be cast down to the earth if they're just these giant gas
Right.
balls that are on the sun? So,
I used to think
to me,
reading that, yeah, I used to think it was some
but
mystical thing or something.
yeah, I can't claim to have thought of that because that was one that Rob Skiba brought up. And although sometimes I don't agree with his theology totally, he is a very good Bible scholar, and especially in the Old Testament. So I can't
Yeah, but Rob
fault him.
doesn't say like this is thus saith the Lord. He says thus says Rob all the time. So it's his opinion. So which is a fair thing to
Except
say.
on the holidays, which I disagree with because he
Sorry,
has
say it again.
misrepresented
I
them.
didn't hear what you said.
The
Except for what?
holidays. The holidays that you can find in the
Yeah,
American
that's right. Yeah.
because he has misrepresented those, and that annoys me. So, you know,
Yeah, I saw. Yeah, I saw your video on that. Yeah.
putting the Grinch on Christmas, you know.
Oh man.
I actually really
Yeah.
Rob Skiba's work, and I like him. I don't know him personally, but I love him as a person. He seems very genuine and very honest, and I've learned a lot from him. So I really, really like his work.
Oh, his scholarship of the Old Testament and the way he ties it to the Book of Enoch and the Book of Jasher and the Book of Jubilees, his scholarship in that area is absolutely impeccable. It's wonderful, and like I said, I can't fault him an iota there.
You
Just
know what?
some of
You're never
his
going to agree with everything someone says, anyways. Like you're really not. You're not going to find that perfect teacher you agree with.
yeah, but I'm still putting up a Christmas tree. He can call me a pagan if he wants.
Better now.
Oh,
I have something that I would like to talk about that I think would be an interesting topic that not a lot of people, well, some people talk about, but it's something that I like to focus on in my flat Earth journey is dealing with sharing it with whether it be just regular friends or people, and just getting through the battle of the cognitive dissonance, the programming, overcoming all that stuff, because I'm sure you guys have tried to share this and had some difficult experiences doing so. So that's something that I like to focus on, to try to study on what's the best way to share it and understand and love them as you're doing it, rather than having it go all to crap.
the best way is to get flat Earth tape and stick it everywhere.
Yeah.
Oh, I've had actually pretty good luck. I haven't had anybody get mad at me. Some of them are a little bit kind of their heads. They have trouble getting their head around it. But like at my church, people seem pretty open to it. I mean, they don't like argue with me. They just say, "Well, that's interesting," and actually I kind of, I think it's easy to sell it to them because what I do is I don't just say, hey, the earth is flat. I don't tell them that. I say, I've been doing some research, and this research indicates that the earth is created exactly as described in Genesis. And this research also provides a verifiable proof of God that people can do with some math and some simple observations. They can verify this for themselves. And when I tell it to them that way, they become very intrigued. I mean, this idea that you can do some math and go out and make some observations and prove God. I mean, that's like pretty interesting to most people. I mean, that's the way I put it. And I put it in, and again, I try to keep a pleasant and happy attitude about it. Like, this is great, Well, and the other thing too is I can say, and you know what? This proves we can also vindicate the trial of Galileo too. They were right in the trial of Galileo.
Oh, gee. There you go. I like that.
I mean, it vindicates the church on Galileo. Hooray!
You're wiser than me, Robin. You're way wiser than me, or I.
Well, the thing is, when I learned about flat Earth, that's the first thing. All these verses pop into my head, and I just when I learned about it, I just wanted to jump up and down for joy because it was like it was confirming the scriptures in such a powerful way. I just was, yay, you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
So to me, it just and I just if you can take that joy of what you learn about the scriptures, you know, and then just translate that to your conversation with other people. Like I say, the people I've told it to, they've been very acceptable of it, you know, and
How about
you
you, Adam?
know,
How about me? Okay, I learned a lot. I'm just saying it now, and I approach things differently than I once did. But yeah, I think the best way to go about sharing is to alienate people around you by looking for truth, and then all of a sudden say, hey, you know, the Earth is flat. No, no, I deal I deal with things differently now. The way way I go about it, and I think I have a thicker skin than I used to, and I approach people differently. Like I don't just approach everybody the same way, and sometimes I can be. I guess you know what the see if I can word this properly. Creation reveals the Godhead, right? And I look at that similar to the way that you would even though the salvation's more important, but salvation's revealed through creation as well. And what works for one person doesn't work for the next. So now I kind of assess the situation and learn more about that person and how they receive it. And sometimes you have to be tough, and it's still loving though. It has to all be for love or what's the purpose. And other times I'm more listening than I used to, and I really enjoy listening sometimes, like about things. So I don't know. I just approach things differently. I don't think the way that I went about in the beginning was necessarily the right way. If I would go back in time, I would have done it totally different
Right.
than what I did. Because I don't know. I think if you're watching my videos, I started with translations. Like I want to know the truth, and so I made some videos on that, and basically got people mad at me, and pretty much I was alienated. Like I felt like I was in exile just because I wanted truth.
Right.
And then Flat Earth came along, so they think I'm really crazy. So I don't know. I think with any truth, you know, when you stand up for the gospel, for Jesus Christ, and what his creation is, or anything, to follow Jesus, you really have to count the cost. If you don't count the cost going into to following Jesus, to doing the right thing that he's called you to do, whatever ministry he's given you, if you don't count the cost before you go in, you'll probably crumble, right? Even if you look at Flat Earth as a ministry, I think it's good just to step back and count the cost before you go into it. I do now, but in the beginning I didn't. I was just excited about the truth, but I didn't really stop to count the cost
I see.
like I do now, if it makes sense.
Well, if
oh
I
that oh go ahead.
sorry, if I could just share a quick perspective about how I share and why I share. Um, I feel that it's very important to educate young people because I'm a Bible study student. I teach third and fourth graders, and these kids are all into space, and they all believe in this. And when I see it, I mean, you know, you can't say that it is bad that they do that because everyone does. But you know, you're in a church, and you kind of want to teach the truth for the glory of God. And I feel like a lot of people's faiths are destroyed because of the lies that are out there. And
Yeah.
this is one of the reasons why I like to try to learn how to share it because I don't really care to share it with Christians who are already saved and believe in Jesus Christ because that's not going to change their faith either way. It'll maybe intensify it or make it cool to them, like, oh, this is awesome. But I'd like to focus more on like the people who are indoctrinated and blinded by this programming to sort of penetrate that and reveal the world to them, and then maybe that will make them open to Jesus in the long run. So that's kind of why I like to focus on the sharing aspect of it. I have to be honest that sometimes I feel my pride coming out on this, and it ends up being more of like a I'm right type of conversation. And at that point, I sometimes have to just stop myself and take a break and realize what it is that I'm saying. You're absolutely just, suggesting that everything that they ever believed since they were a child is fake. So we have to always remember that. So I just wanted to share that perspective. My motive for sharing is because I want people to know the Creator, who are blinded from that due to the indoctrination of this society.
That's good.
Well, one of the things about the globe Earth is that it kind of is a form of idolatry because it removes people from God. In other words, the globe is almost like an idol. I mean, like, what is it? They put this thing in the classroom of little children, and they all gather around it. And, the reason I think this is because what is in the Bible. Of course, I always go back to Scripture because I'm, like you say, you started this. You asked about Bible verses, so you started this. Okay, so this is Romans 1:20.
Oh, I love that one.
Well, let me back up. Yeah, let me back up to 19. So it says, this is Romans chapter 1, verse 19. Because that which may be known of God is manifest in them, for God hath showed it unto them. For the invisible things of him from the creation of the world are clearly seen, being understood by the things that are made, even his eternal power and Godhead, so that they are without excuse. Because that when they knew God, they glorified him not as God, neither were they thankful, but became vain in their imaginations, and their foolish heart was darkened. Professing themselves to be wise, they became fools, and changed the glory of the incorruptible God into an image made like to corruptible man, and to birds, and to four-footed beasts, and creeping things. And then it goes on to tell all the curses that God brings on them because they become idolaters, right? And on and on. It's, but the thing is, it's saying that to look away from the world that God created in its truth to some vain imagining like this globe, right? It's leaving even Christians into a state of partial idolatry. That's my view. Because
no, I agree.
When I learned about the flat Earth, it changed my relationship with God. So it is important to Christians because God became more intimate, more close, and his constant involvement in my life, personal life, was much more obvious. So to me, I think that it is important to share it with Christians because if they think they're on a globe and some insignificant speck in the universe,
Yes.
and there's gonna be a point where they're gonna look out into all this sort of chaos that is the universe that they have imagined in their, as it says in here, in their vain imaginings, in their imagination. They turn from the things of God to imagination stuff. And I think that's important to share it with Christians because they're going to be saying, "Where's God in all this?" They can't find him.
Right.
Whereas if you live on a flat Earth and an enclosed by a firmament, where's God? He just look up. He's right up there.
I think it's important to share with anyone, really. I've actually tried to share this with our children's ministry pastor. She's a good friend of mine, and she took it very well. I find it really easier to share it with Christians, actually, because they're more open-minded and they know the biblical text, so that's already solidified.
You guys are lucky. You guys are so lucky.
Why? Why is that?
I
feel you guys.
Anyways, go on. I'm listening. No, you're lucky. You kidding me?
Yeah, but anyhow, I
Uh,
shared it with her, and she said, "Wow, that's very interesting." And she said, "You remind me of my science teacher in eighth grade, because he always told me to, blah 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 blah, the sun and the moon or the stars, but who can really know?" And he said to her to take everything with a grain of salt because no one can really know for sure. And I always thought, or when she told me that, I thought that that was very interesting because he himself may have been questioning the books that he's teaching.
Well, all I know is that the flat Earth is important to Christianity and to faith in general, because if you look at the number of people who've come to know about the flat Earth who were secularists, atheists,
Yes.
hardcore atheists, and then it's like all of a sudden the flat Earth, it's like they can't look away from God. He's everywhere.
yeah, yeah. And then now they realize there's a creator, and we can say, well, let us share who we believe the creator is.
Exactly. I mean, at least they have come to a knowledge that there is a creator who is intimately involved with us, and they also recognize that he's a scorekeeper.
Yeah, yeah.
He keeps the score. So.
Antonio Superetz, I hope I'm pronouncing that right.
Mm-hmm.
I love his work, by the way. He's awesome. Antonio had mentioned in one of the discussions, one of the long discussions, that he thinks that there's like a mechanism within us that that's a product of the programming where when you suggest the flat Earth to someone, it automatically makes their minds want to dispose of it or contradict it because of the very feeling of accountability for their actions, or just they feel like, oh, now everything's so different, and now there's pressure on me because there's a strong evidence for a creator type of thing. And I that resonated with me very much. So I thought about that all morning because that relates to Christianity. The very thing that people get saved through is realizing their sin. And that's also why I believe that this flat Earth thing is important for evangelizing, because it solidifies the fact that there's a creator and they're accountable for their sins and their iniquities. So I'm with you, Robin, on it is important for Christianity. It's important to me more so to share it with people who don't know the creator.
Yeah, well, like I said, for me, to share it with Christians, it helps to really drive home that God is personal to them specifically. I mean, he made all this for them, each one person. He had each person in his mind when he created this earth, and it's obvious from the way it's created that he did that.
Yeah, so since I've focused my journey on how to share this, I've always been trying to study what are the strongest arguments that the globe has. And so I list those, and I try to research into those and figure it out. Some of the stuff is really tough, like the ISS. Like you made a video about that, Robin. Some people say that the plane, or some people say that they've shot it changing its orientation. Well, if that's the case, then the plane idea, the dressed-up plane idea, is kind of debunked, because how can a plane fly straight when it's like tumbling? So I've always wondered about that part. Stars in the southern hemisphere, people argue about that. How the circle of the Earth, blah blah blah. Kent Hovind saying like, oh, he's not talking about the circle. A circle is an imaginary shape.
It doesn't exist.
Doesn't exist. But yeah, these are the types of things that I like to research, because there are some strong points that the globe will bring to the table that we can't really argue against fully because we haven't proven them yet.
Well, I think the best argument, the one I always use, is where's the curvature?
That is number one.
Yeah, because you can take 8 inches per mile squared. I mean, I did it for myself just to satisfy my own observations. I went out onto the Puget Sound, uh, and I was looking at some boats that were moored off of Bainbridge Island, 4 miles away across the sound. Calculated it out, added an extra mile to allow for distance to horizon because I wasn't directly on the water. I was a little bit up, like 3 feet up from the water, and so with that, there should have been 6 feet of curvature between me and those boats, but I could see the boats all the way to the water line, the hull of the boat all the way to the water line. So,
Right.
then that was, because I looked at it myself and verified it myself.
That's
And that's
awesome.
the thing. Anybody can do this. I say, I needed a pair of binoculars, obviously, to enhance my eyesight, because you can't, it looks like it disappears over the horizon because of perspective, but if you use binoculars to extend your eyesight, you can see it. So just, this is something anybody can do with a little math and a pair of binoculars, and that's what I do, or even a zoom lens on a camera or anything.
Well, those P900s, the P900s that people are using now?
Yeah,
you don't even need that. Just you can zoom on your cell phone enough to see, 4 miles. I mean.
Yeah, as long as you know how far it's going, yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, that's the one thing you can do. And then the other thing is, how does the horizon always rise to eye level, no matter how high you get?
Yeah.
Well,
that would not happen
you there. It's too big. That's what.
The only thing you guys have to remember is that to be more effective, when you're saying to someone, "Where's the curvature?" you have to have a British accent. My jokes are bad today. I'm really trying.
Oh, there's one thing that I wanted to bring up about the curvature, actually. People who argue for the Earth, for the globe, will say that, they've seen the curvature from the beach, and it looks like something like this, where there's a curve. And what's his name? Math Powerland. I don't know if you guys seen his work.
Oh yeah.
Math Powerland did this thing where he said, if there's a curve that's visible looking at the beach like that, that suggests more that you're standing on a cylinder looking towards that way than on a sphere, because you wouldn't see a curve even if you were on a sphere. What you would see is the straight horizon 360 degrees spinning around. There wouldn't just be one on the beach. So that was a pretty interesting thing for me, because anytime I've seen it on the beach.
Also it would always be lower than your eye level.
Right.
Yeah. The higher you got.
And if you rose, it would keep declining. But yeah, if anyone from now on, if everyone says that, there's a curve, you can see it from the beach, that doesn't work. That doesn't work because Math Powerland said, and I agree with it, that if you see it from one angle, then that doesn't make any sense.
Well, you got to remember too that they're seeing a curve because they expect to see a curve.
Right.
And what was it? Mark Sargent, I always love what he said about that. He says, fine, if you see a curve, take a picture, bring it up on your computer screen, and lay a straight edge across it. And tell me if you still see a curve.
And there's no curve.
I mean, I can admit that I was one of those people who said, yeah, I've seen a curve, and later on to find that it's literally because I was programmed. It's because it was put in my face my whole life, and until Flat Earth came out, I didn't realize that it was straight. I always thought, oh yeah, it's curved. It's curved. Maybe it's due to the way our eyes work, and it's just an illusion that it's curved. I don't think so anymore. I think it's just because we were programmed. I literally do.
Yeah, we're expected. Well, I remember long before I got into Flat Earth, I was flying back east, and I changed planes in Chicago. And then the plane took off, and we were flying over Lake Michigan. And something struck me about Lake Michigan was it's so flat. And especially Michigan on the other side, it doesn't have much elevation either. You go, Michigan is so flat. I mean, it's just flat. And
How long ago was that?
as long as this was let's see, I think this was back in the 90s. But the thing is I've flown a lot in my life because I was in the military and I was always going to this place or that place to fix stuff, and so I flew a lot. And all the times I've flown, I never remember ever seeing a curve ever. So I don't know. Maybe it's just the way my mind works that I tend to not accept programming very well.
You're very analytical, though, too.
But I just, yeah. Well, I just was always. I just always remember that once I learned about flat Earth, I go, oh yeah, Lake Michigan. It immediately popped into my head. It was like, it was so flat. You know, it was like, that's a long way. You should see some kind of curve, you know. But there was nothing.
I had a discussion with a good friend of mine on Friday. We had dinner, and the flat Earth came up. He knows that I believe in it, and he is a big science guy. He loves researching into particle physics, into astronomy, and all that stuff. So me and him kind of got into it. We were drinking a little bit, so it got a little heated. So, but it was good. It was good because I learned a lot in our discussion, especially on how to share it with people. Because, like, you can't. At one point, you got to just realize that if they're not curious enough to look into it, you know, it might just not work. The programming might just be too strong on them. But I mentioned the water curving. Like, when have you ever seen water curve? And he said, well, it's just too big, over miles and miles. You know how small we are? And stuff like that. But that doesn't answer, like, you've never seen water curve. How does it curve? That's an assumption on his part. That,
so how do the ships go over the horizon in a few miles?
Right.
That's the thing. Whenever they say that, I say, well, how does a ship go over the horizon in just a few miles?
Exactly.
You know?
So I mean,
Yeah.
There's no curve.
These are the kind of arguments that they can make, and you have to realize that they're not even sure about it because they have never seen water curve, and there's no scientific thing about water, you know, bending at all over long distances. I mean, water is water. Whether
That's not true. Wait a minute. What waves do bend, and there's a curve to waves, I think.
Interesting. That's a good point. Yeah, I mean, a lot
Well,
of times.
that's why if you're really...
And the curvature, trigonometric
Oh,
equation on our part is scientifically, you know, you can write it on paper and it's provable on a smaller scale. So, yeah, it's kind of weird how the arguments are like that sometimes.
the only other thing for me is the behavior of sunlight, too,
Yes.
because light doesn't behave like it's 93 million miles away. For me, the videos that are great for that are P-Brain's videos. I don't know if you've seen any of his videos. P-Brain. Have you seen his?
No, I don't think so. That's cool. I like the name, though.
P-Brain's
his
on the sun's converging rays, how they radiate from one point.
Yeah.
And I think he did a lot on the sunsets as well.
Nice.
Yeah, sunrise and sunset, and showing how its behavior at high altitude versus, you know, low altitude and all that.
I actually brought that subject to my friend as well, and he says, oh, the clouds are acting as reflecting mechanisms, so the light's hitting it and going at all different angles. But then I say, but how
refraction.
So consistent to one point? And at that point, he couldn't really say anything, so the discussion went somewhere else. But that's the way they go. They just, if they hit a stop sign, they'll just turn and go another direction. Like, hey, that wasn't answered yet.
Yeah, P-Brain's a Christian too. He's actually a pretty serious Christian. So I didn't know that when I saw videos, but videos.
I think there's a few Christian flat earthers. I think
there's some, yeah.
Orgyle,
Oh,
I believe, is a God believer. I don't think Jaron is. I think Jaron mentioned his mom is a Christian or Catholic, but he's not. And yeah, I think there's a few out there. I know that David Weiss was an atheist. Now he's considering God, so that's awesome.
Right, he believes there's a creator now. So.
That's awesome. That's
yeah.
exactly what we want.
It's hard to come to the knowledge of the flat Earth and remain an atheist. It's really
It
hard.
doesn't happen. Like, how does that happen? Gee.
Yeah. But,
So
yeah, I think that. Go ahead.
oh yeah, I just thought we were running out of topics, but I wanted to also ask you guys if you guys ever looked into Kent Hovind's work in your history.
Oh yeah, I met him actually. I went to his seminars in the '90s,
Oh yeah.
and he came to our hometown. He did a debate at the university, and that I made some videos directed towards him and that. And I don't know what's going on with him. It's odd because he also just reads the King James, right? But it has to be pride. It has to be something because it's just not logical. It has to be pride that they really do.
Rob, what do you think?
It has to be pride because of his reaction. Because his reaction when people started asking about flat Earth, it's like, wait a minute, I was the big Bible guy. You guys are just kids, and you're studying the scriptures, and you're learning these things out of the scriptures, and that was my impression.
He's used to being the teacher. Maybe it could be, but he has these theories. Like, sorry, Robin.
Oh, go ahead.
Okay, he's got the Kent Hovind theories, and that would mean that he'd have to redo a lot of them. So he has a lot invested in that. Maybe, I don't know.
Not only that, I made a video about him, but I didn't do it because I didn't have the heart to. I love him in the Lord. He helped me a lot. Not on a one-on-one basis, but he helped solidify a lot of the answers to the questions I had about the contradicting things in science. So I love him. It's just I agree with Robin that it's his pride. I believe that he has taught thousands of people, children, about this heliocentric model, and he can't admit it to himself that he could have been wrong about it. You see it yourself. He tries to cite the same books that he condemns to prove flow of Earth. Like, what are you doing, Kent? And at the same time, he's calling us morons, which is very...
Yeah, but then you wonder. Well, you just wonder too, because some people have accused him of getting a deal before he came out of prison, and I don't know. But it's like then it's either pride or... Yeah, I'm not saying he did, but it's like, what the heck, you know?
There's a flat earther. His name is Chris Rock. He did a video about Tiger Dan, Kent Hovind, and some other dude. That they're like these undercover guys against the flat Earth, hired or given money to steer the movement and confuse people. I don't buy that. I don't give him the credit for being like an undercover double agent type of thing. He's just a Christian man dealing with his pride. And we gotta pray for him. We gotta love him because he's done so much for us. The best thing we can do for him is pray for him and hope that he finds his way.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
I believe
of my creation. Go ahead.
No, you go.
Most of my understanding of creation comes from a different source, which is St. Thomas Aquinas, because he talked about all of these things about how the creation works with what the Bible says in his writings on it was called the Works of the 6 Days, which was in his Summa Theologica, Article 68, is the work of the 6 days. He discusses creation, how it came about. Now, he was back in medieval times, but his works are still good. I mean, they still track, so...
Right. Well, actually,
so I didn't actually listen to any of these modern...
So you're plagiarizing his stuff? Is that what you're saying? Never mind.
Yeah, I do
That's a bad
plagiarize
story,
St.
Ron.
Thomas Aquinas. And all his stuff is in public domain now.
Uh,
Yeah, it's been
cool.
600 years. You'd think he'd be in public domain,
Oh, gee.
but yeah, I
Sorry.
think there is a danger when you hang religious belief teachings on one person. You know,
Mhm.
when you get attached to this one person's teaching and preaching, because you can, they're a human being. You know.
Right.
So I bring up Kent Hovind because there's one thing that I've always wanted to say regarding one of the things that he disproves the flat Earth. In quotes. He says that the circle is an imaginary shape and that it doesn't exist. He asks, "Do you mean a cylinder?" Because blah blah blah. But I think he's failing to recognize that the biblical scripture says that he inscribed a compass or a circle on the face of the deep, or on on.
Where, do you know which verse that is? Because I've found the inscribed. And I'm not trying to put you on the spot. I just didn't know.
I don't know
I
either,
know it's. I
but
know it's in.
I can find out. It's Proverbs 8:27, I believe.
Yeah.
Right. So he says in circle of the earth, it doesn't exist,
Hmm.
but yet he's supporting the sphere. The biblical scripture says circle, singular.
Mhm.
It didn't say the circles of the spherical earth. It says the circle, singular, on the earth.
Yeah.
But I believe
And
he's missing.
in the. Oh yeah. Go ahead.
What I believe he's missing is the fact that a circle is something that you can inscribe to create a boundary. And perhaps when the Bible says he inscribed a circle, means that he dictated or he created the boundaries of what he's going to put inside. And that makes so much sense to me because anytime you build something or draw something, you go from general to specific. And I believe that's what God did. And I believe that Kent Hovind is missing that very, very severely, basically because he's still holding on to the space thing while he's thinking about what we're saying. The whole
You
space
know,
thing, gotta throw it out.
the space thing. The thing that actually got me going on flat Earth was, it actually was because of the space fakery. It wasn't the Apollo missions, but it was the Curiosity rover.
Uh-huh.
When I looked at that, that is not Mars. That is not Mars.
Right.
And then I noticed that because I noticed the Curiosity rover was a white colored vehicle, all painted white. It was a shiny white color. And then when you looked at the photos, it was all yellowish. I mean, it wasn't like there was yellow dust in the cracks and stuff. I mean, it was yellow, completely yellow. It says, well, they colorized all of this video footage, or all these pictures they're sending back are all colorized.
Yeah.
And I said, why are they doing that? And then because I said, this has got to be complete fakery. I said, you take away the colorization, it could be the Mojave Desert. It could be many places on Earth. And then you started finding artifacts, and there was one picture that had, you could see the goat bones in some desert location. There were like some goat bones and some kind of little rock marmot. I mean, there were things that it was just completely terrible fakery. And
What weren't those goat
and
bones
that
like an
wasn't what got
alien?
me going on flat Earth. Yeah, alien goats, right. Yeah, and some people were going so far as saying, look, this proves that there's life on Mars. I go, no, not. But and there were just so many things. It was just terrible, terrible fakery. It wasn't that it was fake that got me going, because then I started to say, why are they going to the trouble to fake all this? Why are they faking it? And that's when I'm into flat Earth, was because this is why they're faking it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think that's one of the biggest.
They want to be the guy.
People can't.
Yeah, they want to be the guys.
The deception. Sorry.
Yeah, well, it's the powers that be want to be the gods of this earth. They don't want to share their power and glory with God. And so as long as they can keep people, pushing towards a secular atheist agenda, which is what space does.
Absolutely. There's kids in my Bible study class that say, Teacher Allen, I watched The Martian. I was like, oh, that's cool if you like space. And he goes, I love space. and right there, it's like, man, they have them worshiping space. The Apollo missions, all the planets are named after pagan gods. Jesus Christ's name is banned from NASA, all this stuff. Like, what is going on?
Well, you know what you can do with those kids is not tell them anything, but you ask them a question.
Ask them questions.
Ask them the question. How do you know that's How do you know that's what space is? NASA telling you everything. How do you know that's what space is like? And then you might point out that they're all Freemasons and don't believe in Jesus Christ.
If they knew what a Freemason was.
So you give a Bible study? Yeah, give a Bible study about Freemasons.
But just put the question in their mind. How do you know? Do you know this because you have some proof? Or do you know this because one agency of the government is producing all of these images?
Right.
Because somebody put a globe in your classroom when you were a kid. Is that why you know this? Or do you know it from something you can prove?
Well, that's
just put the question in your mind.
For me, of course I want to, Robin. At the same time, I know that their parents are probably not flat earthers, and I have to respect their parents at the same time as well. I don't know where the line for truth. I could just say, I'm hardcore, whatever. Anyone, I'm just going to tell the truth about it. But I'm trying to respect their parents because I don't want them to come to me and say, hey, you tell my son the earth is flat. And, I got to deal with that too. So I think it's best just to tell them you could never really know for sure, and that you got to trust the Bible over anything that you learn on earth, because this is the word of God.
That's good enough. That's the start.
Do you know that song, He's Got the Whole World in His Hands? You could sing it, they could teach him, He's got the whole flat world in his hands or something. Like, you could teach him songs like that.
Right.
Just saying.
It's tough because it's so easy to put a ball in your hand,
Yeah, and you can make cookies, and make it like a flat earth cookie while they're singing songs.
I'm going to use the restroom. I'll be right back.
Like our flat earth cake that we had at the get together in Seattle. We had a flat earth cake.
Give it for the kids, yeah. Oh, shit. Wow.
But
no. Yeah. It's weird. So I work night shift on the weekends. Like I'm sleeping at night, so it's like messing me up a little bit. I don't know. I feel groggy when I'd normally be awake.
Oh, I'm groggy because I was getting up early to check the sun. So because I've got.
What time are you going on that? I got it, but I didn't. What time are you doing that?
Oh, I'll go on in about 3 hours from now. So.
Right.
You can't hang about here all.
That's cool.
Yeah, Patricia's already started, so she couldn't have been in this hangout anyway. Her shift is
now. Hey, yeah, she would only been on for like an hour or something like that. Yeah.
Robin, are you doing the sunset?
I'm one of the hosts of the hangout. So.
Okay, so you're a host. If we're on the West Coast, I have this question because they said it's better to do it over water. We should do the sunset rather than the sunrise, correct? Because
I'm doing the sunrise.
You're doing the sunrise?
Because I'm in the forest, and from the sunset side, all I can show you is a sparkle through the trees.
I see. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I want to do
trees.
I want to, but I don't know exactly how to do it. It's just you go somewhere where the sun is going to rise, and then you tap the link, and then you just sort of show the sun. Is that how it goes?
Yeah, and just be sure and give your location and the time.
Okay.
At your location, your local time.
So you would just voice that, correct? You would say it, or would you?
Yeah, And yeah, you can just say it, and some people are trying to give an approximate angle, which is kind of helpful too, because we're finding out some very different things.
Nice.
Like, for instance, a guy in Pensacola, Florida says the sun was rising at a 45-degree angle. And I said, that shouldn't work at that latitude, which makes me think that Pensacola is actually further north than where it is.
Wow. I'm just interested to see all the data that comes back. Just some of the things that they can see. I don't know. I'm looking forward to that.
It'd be interesting to create a diagram of where the sun is on a globe or a flat Earth, and just see what is more realistic, what makes it more.
Well, I did. That's what got me going on this, was because me and Nathan Oakley and David Weiss and a bunch of other people were on this Skype call, and Nathan they were joking because for some reason the sun will come up even though they're about the same location. Like Antonio is like on the same longitude but only like 100 miles north of him, but yet the sun doesn't come up until an hour later. It's still dark where he's at.
So he'd be more west.
Where Nathan is, so maybe Britain is tilted more too. And so Nathan, where he's at, he's saying, well, the sun's coming. They were joking between each other. He says, well, my sun's coming up here, and it's still dark up in Manchester, right? And I said, well, because they were making a joke, and I'm going, wait a minute. I'm in Seattle, and the sun hasn't even set now. And you're saying the sun is rising in England? Now, how does that work?
Whoa. Are you serious?
And that's what got everything going.
Was this real time?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, I did a real time. We were talking on Skype, and I said, the sun's about 10 degrees above the horizon over here.
Oh, shit.
That's weird. That's a trip.
It is.
Yeah, no, it's not weird. Not weird. When you lay it out on the flat Earth, that where the sun is, because this was a few days ago, so close to the summer solstice, so the sun was very close to the Tropic of Cancer, so it was easy for me to take the angle that the sun was, here in Seattle as it's going down. I could take the rough angle, which was about 30 degrees from where it was 10 degrees above the horizon, and compute that it was somewhere in the South China Sea, just south of the Tropic of Cancer, because it was close enough to the summer solstice to do that. And the interesting thing is when you lay it out on the flat Earth, that from me to that point and from Nathan Oakley to that point was about the same distance. In other words, once the sun gets far enough away from you, it appears to set because of perspective, right? And it turns out it's about 7,000 to 7,500 miles away. And so I did a video on that where I could show, like, I'll just bring the globe out, but the problem is I don't have my laugh track ready. We decided that any video we do...
I don't want to see your idol. I don't want to see your idol.
Don't show it. Don't show
the idol.
So this is
and one thing too, like...
issue.
Okay.
Okay, so I got to back up a little bit so you can see better, but... Okay, so
I'm
here
looking
I
at
am
your graven image.
in Seattle. The graven image. There I am in Seattle. Image, right? And then the sun was about right in here, in this area, right?
Right.
So look, actually, it went like there. So, like, if you look, if I put that point, let me see. I want to make sure I'm in the Tropic of Cancer. Okay,
lift the globe up a little higher.
Yeah. So if I'm at that point right there, if I'm facing, if that's like pretend the camera is the sun, right? So I'm facing the globe directly at the sun or the camera. Now, where's Seattle?
On the opposite
It's way
side.
behind the curve.
Right.
Oh my God. Yeah, that couldn't happen.
And then if I take this right here, and I go to where the terminator line was, say, like, like where you can just start to not see my finger, right?
That's where the sun would rise.
So right about there. Yeah, that's where the sun should be rising if we're on a globe, right?
Correct.
Well, that's in the middle of the Black Sea, right? So let me see. If I put one finger on the Black Sea, that's how much more distance it would have to go to get to England.
Okay.
So as you can see, it doesn't work on a globe, right?
No.
But if we go here, if we go to the Gleasons, right? Here's Seattle. Here's where approximately the sun is, right about there, right?
Uh-huh.
And here's England. They're kind of the same distance away from that position. Does that make sense? Is that, you see that?
Yeah, but even more if it's shifted, like that's not accurate, so it was actually shifted more this way would even make more sense.
Mm-hmm. I see what you're saying.
Yeah. Well, it wasn't exactly the same distance.
Right, but it's more plausible. It's
between 7. So it was roughly 7,000 to 7,500 miles away. The sun will disappear when it gets about 7,000 to 7,500 miles away, roughly.
And
on
Robin,
the Gleasons.
Yeah, on the Gleasons. Do you think that the Earth is? This is something I've been thinking about, and I think you mentioned it before to me. But do you think it's an actual literal circle, or is it some other layout?
Well, did you see the video I did on the Vault of Heaven?
Yeah, I did. Yeah. That's why I'm asking you.
Yeah, because like that guy named Rick Potvin. When he was looking at this stupid Vendée race that went around supposedly circumnavigated the South Pole, but what they really did was they sailed in around the South Seas in a circle, roughly between 30 degrees and 60 degrees south latitude. So they weren't really circumnavigating it. Basically, they were doing this. They were starting here, and they were going around, and they were going down here, and they were coming back here. So, and if that race ever existed, because a lot of people say they're not sure that the race actually occurred or that it was held or there were any participants, so it was kind of like a... But he was trying to show how that could happen on a flat Earth, and he actually showed he was able to reconstruct the ring of the Antarctic, and it wasn't as ring-like as it appears. And his map he did a really good map showing, and then he shows where the quote-unquote South Pole is, which is in a corner up by Makamoto Air Base near Australia. And the thing is, it's not that ring-like if you look at that Rick Potvin's map, and I show that in the Vault of Heaven, and it kind of makes sense because they're supposed to be pillars of heaven too, right? Mm-hmm. He talks about the pillars of heaven in Job, and those pillars would have to be located. From what my calculations say, those pillars were located. One of them was located very close to where Admiral Byrd went in to, where he supposedly got further in and supposedly found the edge. And one of those pillars is there, and then there's another pillar on the opposite side. Pillar is the one where they took that Ark of Gabriel that I talked about also, where the Russian Orthodox Church there at the Church of the Holy Trinity.
Mm-hmm. Do you remember the Project Dominic fishbowl?
Yeah.
Do you know much about that, Robin?
Fishbowl, yeah.
Because
I do. The size,
go ahead.
yeah. Well, I know that the sizes and the kilotonnage is pretty big on those nukes that they sent up to the dome. You know.
It's weird to me that that's not talked
So,
about more often. Like sending nukes up for years, and what is the point of that? I mean, why is it just brushed under the rug? Like,
and
don't people have questions about it?
and not even the little ones. We're talking big ones. They made the ones they dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki look like firecrackers. I mean, they were big in the high kiloton, low megaton range. And we're talking, they shot them up as high as they could get them. They really did. And I looked at some of the altitudes. It's like 450 miles, 420 miles, you know, way up there. I think, I don't know, I think they went Nimrod, is what I think. They were trying to make war on God.
I think so. Yeah. And what were they trying to do? Like break the dome, or like it doesn't make any sense.
It was a Nimrod movie.
Yeah. That's a little bit more than just shooting an arrow up into heaven.
It's like, you got, or building a tower or whatever. But
CERN.
I think the pillars are not just, the pillars are not, CERN, they're trying to punch a hole through something else, interdimensional hole, but these pillars, and also there's some reason we're not supposed to get out, because they've tried to create portals before and God has destroyed those places. So, interdimensional portals. So I'm just wondering how long
but what
CERN's
makes
gonna get
them
away
think
with
that
it.
we could survive anywhere else? Like our bodies are meant to exist here, right? So even if you could, how the heck could you exist? It's ludicrous to me.
Vanity, just vanity on their part.
Yeah.
I think they can do anything.
Hold on one second.
Because they can. They do it because. No, are you seeing that? I don't think it's.
He said to hold on for a sec, because he's talking to someone. But yeah, that Project Fishbowl was a really interesting one for me, because there's not much information on it, but there's enough to understand what was going on. And I was just wondering if you guys had any more additional knowledge about the subject.
Okay, what were you?
Only
what
what
were you
I've read online.
I
missed what you were saying, because I was just talking.
The Project Dominic Fishbowl thing. I was just saying that it's weird that there's not that much information on it, but there's enough to know what was going on. And there's videos that show the nukes exploding in the sky. I don't know how true those images or videos are, but it's very interesting to me that they would try to bust through the firmament just to explore what's beyond it, or test God in a way. Let's just test how strong we are compared to what you do.
I think they were making war on God. I really do. I don't think it was like they were trying to get out. I think they were pissed because they were trapped inside.
Idiots. Well, even
like God put these boundaries.
Yeah, but when Jesus comes back, isn't it recorded like they'll try to make war against him? It's like, how delusional are they? Like they can actually win? Like what are they trying to do? So I don't know.
Pride and vanity can cloud your mind pretty badly.
Oh yeah, but maybe they'll be deceived, and maybe they'll think when the Son of Man comes back that it's like aliens or something. They're just so deceived that they won't even repent of their way of thinking, and it's like they actually think they can win. I don't know. It's weird.
And the other thing too is like when Christ returns, everyone will see him. That's Matthew,
which is a flat earth.
He'll be seen like coming, because you can only on a globe only half of the people can.
Well, that's because the other half has their TV on, and the TV's broadcasting his return, right? No, never mind. That's crazy.
What about the people in Mongolia who don't have TVs? And people in
Exactly.
the
That's why it's
South
crazy.
American rainforest who don't have.
That's why that
Yeah,
just is
I mean,
this
it
bad.
doesn't
Yeah.
work.
All right.
But
Actually, I
you
can't
get
stay on
some of
too
these
much longer.
Bible scholars. Okay,
So go on.
go ahead.
No, I can stay on a little bit, and then I got to get off. We're actually going to eat some
Oh, yeah,
Korean food.
Oh, well, I don't know. One of the things that I think is, the Operation Fishbowl, but on this thing, I think when they went to, because they said whatever Admiral Byrd saw and these people found when they went into the interior, it armed them. I mean, it was like they were worried, right? And so if they were near one of the pillars of heaven are not only a structure that supports heaven, but they are also, I think, a connection point, like where, like where people can travel, out of here into heaven, right? And so obviously God's not going to leave those things unattended. They're going to probably have some kind of a major player, like an angel of the throne class or something. They're,
Like
one of the
Michael
big
or something
boys.
like that. Yeah, like Michael.
I
Yeah.
think that's what's scary.
Yeah.
Not one of the seraphim, but maybe one of the thrones or the domination, something like that.
Or really powerful.
I think
Yeah.
whatever a big, huge angel, one of really powerful angel. I mean, that would scare some people. I think. I mean, they could be scared by that.
I wonder.
And also that the base of these pillars.
Sorry, I wonder what the governments
At
say
the base of these pillars.
for this.
What did you say?
I wonder what the governments say that the reason was for Project Dominic. Like, why send nukes up? What is
Swamp gas.
Swamp gas.
Never mind.
They said testing. They said testing. So you're going to take the biggest ones in your arsenal and test them?
Yeah.
All of them?
No. All that money, all that. Yeah, they're not doing that.
Yeah, that's
right.
And yeah, I mean, it's not something you can buy at the drugstore, But also the reason why I think they may be angels at the pyramids, at the base of the pillars of heaven, is to guard. But the other reason I think there is because of this issue with the Ark of Gabriel. Because apparently this Ark of Gabriel was an object that properly belonged to the angels, from what they could determine in the records and writings and stuff, that it was something that the angels used in their own temple where they worshipped God, right? And so it didn't belong to people, right?
Mm.
And for them to take it to the place where I calculated one of the pillars would be, right? And they went from the Church of the Holy Trinity after they did this ritual over the Ark of Gabriel. Then they gave it to a Spetsnaz team who took it further into Antarctica, further into the interior of Antarctica. So that would have been where one of the pillars were. So maybe they were bringing this thing back to the angels because as long as it stayed in the earth, it was causing all kinds of havoc. It was blowing things up. It was killing people, So that whole Ark of Gabriel thing was very interesting.
Yeah. All right, I gotta go, guys. Sorry about that.
All right, Adam.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I gotta get ready. I promise
I guess we could have talked longer.
No, you guys could talk. I just that I have to go out, like if I promise certain times and that. So I gotta go, and we're gonna go eat some Korean food. That's all I know.
Right. Have a good time.
You guys keep talking. It's really cool. So, and I just feel bad. Like there's a bit of a delay.
Oh, I can't stay much longer. Yeah, I can't stay much longer either. I have to go and shift for the Hangout. So.
Yes.
Okay.
That's cool. All right.
Well, thanks for talking with me, guys. It's been a pleasure. I hope that we can do it again sometime.
Oh,
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's
yeah, it was
awesome.
fun.
Yeah, it was. It really was.
Yeah, and it's really nice to meet you, Robin. Good to see you again, Adam. And let's do it again. It was really fun to connect with you
We
guys.
will.
Talk about some great things.
Well, we'll connect on Skype too because it's a
Okay.
little easier.
Okay.
Thanks, Robin.
Thanks.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Bye now.